We should be live now.
We are. Hi, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. This is ACDC, which is Araceli and Collette Dynamic Change. My name is Araceli, and I'm a transition wealth advisor. And I specialize in working with single professional women to rearrange their finances so they can get ahead, pay their debt quicker, and retire faster. And I'm here with my partner, Collette. We have a very special episode today. Collette, can you introduce yourself?
Of course, my name is Collette Rabba, and I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA. Cheers, everybody. I'm having my coffee. And today, our very special guest, because she has to do a lot with all of us. We're affected if you're going through a divorce or even anything that you need to mediate over. We have a great guest today. Her name is Marian Grande, not any relation to Ariana Grande, but maybe she can sing for us later. We have
bad idea. Bad idea.
Okay. Anyway, so Marianne, please introduce yourself because I'm sure you'll do a much better job. And she also has a little slide that she's going to talk about herself a little bit and what she does, what she specializes in, because what she does is very, very important. So I want to be like Oprah. Marianne!
This is your chance, Collette.
Yes,
yeah. Okay, great.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show. This is great. So my name's Marian Grande, no relation to Ariana, and I will not be singing today.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I will be talking to you about family law mediation. I'm a family law mediator, and I am the founder of Absolute Dispute Resolution, helping families settle their family law dispute outside of court, saving money, time, and stress.
Yeah. So
yeah,
this is
a big deal.
What we want to say to people here is that Marian is not a lawyer. She's a mediator, and that is a difference because if you don't want to go to the extent of hiring a lawyer, you want to hire Marian instead because it's a lot faster, it's cheaper, and you can just save time instead of going to court. So please pay attention to what she has to say today. We're going to be talking, she's going to give us some tips about how to have a healthy separation. And Marianne, please tell us more about it.
Okay, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen here.
Yeah. See, the other thing too is that we always talk about having people on our team and having people, when as a real estate broker, if somebody calls me and says, oh, I'm going through a separation, what do I do? How do I, do I have to sell my house? Do I have to, live with this other person? There's so many questions. And if I don't have those answers, I always ask people like Marianne to say, hey, listen, I have a great client. She's more than welcome to answer your questions about things like that. Because when it comes to mediating, it's not just the one thing like I want a separation, I want a divorce. Mm-hmm. It's all of the things that are part of it. So we really wanted to keep things light and sort of, not heavy, because we know with people with COVID may need to say enough. I need to get out of I need to separate from my mate. How do I do it? So these are some really easy tips on how you can have a healthy separation. So Marianne, please.
Yeah, and this is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many ways that we can learn how to have a healthy and positive separation. So I'm just going to jump right into it. As I said, I'm a family law mediator. I have over 16 years experience in family law and civil litigation. I am a member in good standing with several mediation associations, and I am the founder of Absolute Dispute Resolution. So aside from doing separation and divorce, I also do co-parenting, elder disputes, and will and estates disputes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so a little bit of everything having to do with family, right? So my number one tip today is treat each other with respect. This is probably the most important tip that I can give anyone going through a separation, and it encompasses so many things. So it's really important to remember to be courteous and polite to one another. Another big one is not to badmouth each other. I see that a lot in mediation,
also,
as well as
with kids, and we forget that kids hear everything. right?
They do, and that's the thing, even name calling. I have had cases where parents name call each other. It's very immature and childish, but it does happen. Also important is to be accountable for your own fault in the breakdown. We tend to put blame on someone else, but most times it's a little bit of both, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I think that this is not only the more important, but I think the most difficult. Because if you're going to separation, obviously you don't want to be with that person. So for whatever the reason is, now you dislike this person and you don't want to be with them. So I think that this is super important that just, especially if you have kids, to make sure that you really put that in front of you instead of, whatever problems you have with the other spouse. And I think it's just easier, a lot easier to resolve things if you have a little bit of respect. So
Yeah, absolutely. I find a lot of people ignore each other as well.
yeah,
So it's really important to communicate. Communication is key. Answer the email or the text message or a phone call. The other person could be calling to say something quite important, right?
yeah.
So you don't want to miss that. Also, do what you say you're going to do. If you're going to be there to pick up your child at 5 o'clock, make sure you do that. It's really important to keep those schedules, even for the kids,
Oh,
right?
especially for the kids. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, so it's really important. Also, research non-adversarial options for divorce. Instead of right away thinking of hiring a lawyer and going to court, that's what most people do right away when they've made the decision to get separated. Right away, they start looking for a lawyer. That's probably the wrong first choice. First choice should be to contact a mediator. It's highly advised by the courts as well. You'll find that in your first appearance. That
I have a
many
question.
times.
I
Yeah.
have a question. So in my own separation, what happened was I got an email from my husband who said, "I have a lawyer. You have to get a lawyer." And I went, "No, I don't like that. Don't tell me what to do."
Yeah.
So, but I dragged my feet because I really didn't know what to do. And at the point I said, "You know what, this is ridiculous." And I talked to my family members and they said, "Just hire a lawyer." So now at this point, it's all sort of set, but so a separation and a divorce are two separate things, correct?
That's right.
So now the separation, I think, is the harder part because there's all the details and everything.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
are you saying, so now if I just want to get that divorce paperwork signed, I can come to you to say, "Hey, let's do this"?
So I get more involved in the negotiation process. So prior to the separation agreement,
Okay.
that's when you're negotiating all the issues. You're hammering out child support, access, custody, what to do with the matrimonial home. So that's really where I get involved. And in that, it is true what you're saying. It is the most difficult part. That's the part that requires the most work.
Right.
Once that's done, it's really,
mediation.
What was that, Collette?
Needs the most mediation. Like you need to, the back and forth.
Yeah, that's the part that you need
Right.
it, right?
Yeah, and that's what costs so much with lawyers is hourly, the back and forth.
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, when you both have lawyers, it's that going back and forth that's costing a lot of money, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're going back and forth, then it goes into a letter, then one party's not happy with that, and then it goes back and forth some more, and it takes a lot of time to do that, to do negotiations that way, right?
Right.
And so mediation saves people, up to, I'm going to say 75%.
And I want to say, I want to ask another question too. The little research that I did as far as how long you can take to actually write a separation agreement once you've split is 6 years.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people actually take that long, or that could be a point of contention right there, where somebody wants a quick separation, the other one says, "No, screw you, I can sit on it for 6 years." So how do you handle that, or is that too personal?
No, the way it is mediation has a much more relaxed approach to it.
Okay.
If you know, if you're approaching the deadline and you find that it's not going anywhere, at that time you probably want to retain counsel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 2.
Yeah. So discuss options for divorce, right? It's really important. Just like Collette, your spouse said, oh, I got a lawyer, you should too. That's not really discussing the options, right? Yeah. That's just, this is what I did. You should do the same thing. I'm telling you what to do,
it's
right?
bullying. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So, I mean, it's really important to discuss it with the other person, you know, let them know, hey, there are other options besides hiring a lawyer. We don't have to spend all this crazy amount of money and time. We can do things differently, right? Not a lot of people know that. People automatically first thought hire a lawyer and go to court. But there are other options that work just as well, if not better.
Right. And if I could give anybody any advice, stay out of court. I didn't get into court, but you know, that's not to say I don't know a lot of people that actually did. And it's always painful and harder and more expensive, and it's not necessary in a lot of cases.
I try to do everything kind of the friendly way if possible, because the only one that wins here is the lawyer, for sure, because they are the ones that are making the money and you're the one suffering and taking away resources that are either for your kids' education, maybe for yourself, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Not necessary, right? Okay.
Yeah. And the average cost, if you're going to trial, the average cost for a family law trial is between $10,000 and $20,000 a day.
Whoa, wow.
So you're spending a lot of money, and people hire a lawyer and they don't realize that it gets more and more expensive as you go along.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's exactly why we want to bring you in, so people know that they have other options before they go to the length of hiring a lawyer. So,
well, and this is the whole point of what I was saying earlier, like with Araceli, she's the financial person. Like this has to do with your finances too. So it's all encompassing with your money, that, you know, if you have to sell your property just to pay for the lawyers, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you know, to try and avoid all that, keep the money in your pocket. This is why Marianne's so important to, you know, give her a call. On her screen, it says, you know, most mediators offer a free consultation. Take her up on that. Just give her a call, you know, and ask the questions.
Yeah. So we're always happy to have a free consultation with our clients, because there's a lot of questions around divorce and what mediation is and how it can help somebody, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's like another job, like separating someone, it's like having a second job.
It
like
really
how
is.
much time you're going to spend on these things, and it's really not a fun job.
No. And I'm sure, Collette, you've gone through financial statements in your process, and it's very, very tedious.
It is.
And it gets really scrutinized. Although we do financial statements in mediation, it's not as scrutinized as it would be in a courthroom setting, right? You're negotiating amongst yourselves.
Well, and
it's
that's
much more relaxed.
That's a very, very important a thing too, because you don't have to. You know, some people say you have to go through this financial statement thing. You don't have to. So, you know, really be careful of the law and what one person says over the other, and talk to the people, you know, and this is what I say too about having a lawyer or having your own real estate agent. Don't go, you know, with one person on both sides. Like, this is the thing. As a mediator, yes, you can do that. And all the information has to be shared equally. But when you have a lawyer, my lawyer doesn't have to say everything to the other lawyer, but at the same time, she can give me the advice that I need and say, you have to do this or you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
But there are lots of things that within the law, if you sign off on something, you don't have to disclose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to get the other person to agree to that, that's the important thing.
Yeah. And there's so many benefits to mediation, right? Like, it's confidential. That's a huge thing. You know, court records are public. So a lot of people don't like that. Going back to financial statements, no, you don't. If you're going to court, you definitely have to do them. In mediation, you don't. Although at the end of the process, you will need to go in for independent legal advice on what you've agreed to in mediation. And many lawyers will not give you that legal advice if you have not done financial statements. So it's a really important part of the process that people don't realize.
Right.
So I highly stress that.
Yeah.
That's the first step I like to take in mediation.
Yeah.
You know, and once you've discussed everything with the mediator, you're happy with the mediator, then I would discuss it with your partner or your soon-to-be ex-partner.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to be threatened with court action, right?
Oh, yeah.
For
That's
sure.
If your spouse is saying, I'm going to go to court and I got a lawyer, right away, it turns bitter, you know?
Of course. Yeah, I agree with you.
So it's important to discuss those options, to say, hey, I found a mediator and they can help us this way and we'll save money, right?
Absolutely. Save money is the best, because remember, people act out of emotion at that time. I don't want you here, take this, take that, take the other. But at the end, you have to think about yourself, because if you are not going into another relationship right away, or if you have to take care of kids, or your job is not the greatest
Or COVID.
right? Or
It's
COVID,
COVID.
anything.
Right.
No, there's always emergencies. Today is COVID, tomorrow, God knows what's going to be, but there's always something like that. And I always tell people, you know, save and really guard what you have. So why give it away in a fight that it can just be done amicable? You know, you already decided that you're going to split. Let's just do it amicable, save as much money as possible, do it efficiently, and then we can all move on with our lives, right?
Right. And expedite, I think that should, I
Exactly,
don't know, what's number three?
Exactly.
Is number three expedite the process?
Yeah, so
Let's
what
go
is
to number three. It's to start the process immediately.
Yeah, I was pretty close. I was pretty close.
You
To
were
start,
good. You were good.
but
So-
also to get it off your plate, like move on with your life. If you guys
That's just it.
split,
And I don't think people realize how long it takes to get to trial and the cost involved. I've had many people tell me their divorce took over 10 years.
Oh yeah.
Many people have said it's cost them well over 100,000. So I don't think people realize the extent of it when they're starting the process, right? But yes, it's important to start the process right away, because things escalate the longer you wait. The other person might meet somebody and start a new relationship, things get a little bitter, or the new person starts to have a say in the separation.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? I've seen that a bunch of times. Right?
You only have control over yourself. You don't have control over what the other person is doing. So absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
And I'm telling you, when you have, when there are kids involved, it gets even better, because like you said, if somebody had started a relationship with somebody else, you know, the kids don't like the other person, and they can't be the mom or the dad, and it just becomes such a drama, right? That they say, well, no, I'm not going to sign the papers now. Now I want this, now I want that. Nah.
That's right.
It just becomes just a drag, and it's financially dragged for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
So that is, I'm telling you, I didn't have kids when I divorced, but I did have a dog, believe me. And he asked for, you know, half of the
dog.
The dog. I'm serious. I have it in my separation agreement.
Cut the dog in half.
I've seen that before, so I'm not surprised.
But you know what? I did have a consult, because we did it all ourselves. Wow. And they said, you know what? Just give him the dog for the weekend, right? It's okay. Just don't get into a fight for a while, right? Because I used to make more money than him. It says, you don't want him to sue you for alimony. And I said, okay. So I had to drive the dog to him every Friday night, and then pick my dog on Monday after work. So it was kind of sad.
That's the thing. Like, you know, it's better than having no dog, right? So that's the other thing. It's this, how do you look at it? How do you, you know, when you really look at the worst case scenario? Yeah. You know, it's the same thing with me, with my kids. My kids are older, but one at the beginning, so this has been it's only been a year and a bit, and for the whole year, and because of COVID, they were both still living at home and everything was fine. Then the younger one decides to move to her dad's because of COVID, and I think there's, you know, a little bit of oh, he's all alone and I want to keep him company, that sort of thing. So it's actually, you know, it hurts me, but it's not about that. I know it's not about that. It's about, you know, her wanting to, she's getting older. She could have gone away to university. She could have, you know, moved out on her own. So it's these kinds of things where I have to, it's not about me. It's also about the other person and what, you know, the kids are old enough to make their own decisions too. So everybody going through this has to deal with everybody, but really you have no control over anybody other than yourself.
Yeah.
So so this is why I think mediation is great, because that way you can talk like human beings. You were married, you hopefully had somewhat of a good marriage, you know, you had a relationship. You're never going to be free of that person, especially if you have kids. Well, only if you really have kids. You'll never really be free of that other person. Why not make it as clean and friendly as you can?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what? In a marriage, there's always 50-50. No matter who initiated the bad behavior or whatever it is, the other person allowed it. So there's always a 50-50 guilt, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even if I didn't want to split right now at this point, it's not just my decision. There's two people in this relationship.
Absolutely.
So I think people forget that. People forget, like, oh, he said this or she said that, and it's like, well, no. You know, what was your reaction, or what did you answer?
Yeah, so just remember, this is actually really quick overview of, you know, thank you for the tips, Marianne. This is great for everybody. But if you want to have, if you have a specific question that Marianne can't answer, let us know, okay? We always want to see what you want to know about it, specifically for this, because not a lot of people are aware of mediation and how it can help them and how can they save the money. Save your money.
It's a free phone call.
Yeah.
Look at her fantastic glasses. Like, don't you just want to call her? I wish I found you when I was going through the process, because that would have been really something that would probably save me a lot of money. But again, that was really not just my decision too. It was, you know, my soon-to-be ex was not interested. He lawyered up right away. So I felt like I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But,
you know what? The one thing I do want to mention that a lot of people aren't aware of is that even if you have lawyers, you can still attend mediation.
Oh.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't aware of that. They think, oh, I have a lawyer now, I can't go to mediation. That's completely false. You can attend mediation. Your lawyer can be present, although then you're paying twice, right? You're paying for mediation and the lawyer to be there.
Right.
But it is an option, and you can still go to mediation without the lawyer present as well. So that's something for people to remember. Even if you started a court process, you can still have that running on the side. Try mediation. If it works, you can stop the court process. If it doesn't work, you still have that in the background and you'll just continue. But remember that a good percentage of judges will recommend mediation at the first appearance, which is your case conference most times. So a judge will usually say, go try mediation, figure it out. If in 6 months you still can't get it done, then come back. And remember, the other thing is some people settle partial, a part of the issues in mediation, and maybe if there's more complicated issues, they'll resolve those in court. But at least a good portion of it is done in mediation, and you've saved money on that portion. So you're not having to go to court for the full, all the issues, right?
And I have to reiterate that when you do go to court, the first thing the judge says is go to mediation. So you're wasting your time in court. So if you haven't tried mediation yet, you might as well do it. The other thing too that I didn't know, that I was still kind of questioning, and maybe you can answer that, you know, because of not just because of COVID, but for mediation, it sounds like we have to be in the same room. And if you don't have the greatest relationship, or you don't want to actually physically see that person, you know, Marianne can do it in separate rooms, or, you know, separate Zoom calls or whatever it is. So you don't physically have to be there at the same time. So she can meet with you, she can meet with the other party separately. So it's not something, is that correct?
Yeah, so that's called a shuttle mediation. And sometimes one party's just not comfortable seeing the other party, and, you know, you just don't want to, or for whatever the reason may be. So I've done it where I've had two people in separate boardrooms, and I'll go back and forth, mediate all the issues. So Yeah, so a
It's
lot of
comfort.
people don't want to do mediation because they think it's in the same room, but it's not always. You
Yeah,
have that
absolutely.
option.
And yeah, just to have that option really makes people feel at ease too, that you really don't
Yeah,
have to be in the same room. So I
And
just
yeah,
want to say
you
that.
know what? It's having a third party that is not involved emotionally in the marriage can give people a very good perspective and how they can resolve something that they don't want to agree on, right?
Right.
yeah,
Instead of saving their money and also going to court, saving time going there and more
Mhm.
money as well.
And then you can buy a beautiful chalet like I'm living in right
Yes.
now.
And you can save more money for retirement.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, of course, you can
Yeah,
ask Araceli.
absolutely. So we're here to help you and, obviously make more out of your money and maybe buy a property or an investment property, whatever
Absolutely.
it's what you're looking for to accumulate
Get your
assets.
hair done.
Yeah, exactly. So Marianne, we want to thank you very much for sharing this with us. If we do have any comments or anything like that, we will pass it on to you and maybe we'll have you again to share more of your wisdom with the audience. But for now, please, to the audience, give us your questions. If you have anything specific about mediation, please let us know. We will pass it on and maybe we'll make another episode just on that. Okay? So
And Marianne, all her information is going to be below. So if
going
you
to be
want to
below,
reach out
yes.
to her or
You can
either of
contact
us,
her,
you know,
and if you
always
have any
reach out.
questions, she's happy to help you on whatever if we didn't discuss it today here. Okay, well, thank you guys. We'll see you
Thank you
next
so
week.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for
guys.
having me.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a great
bye.
day.